Hey everyone, Ethan Cole here. Tonight's stories all take place in one of the most ordinary places you can imagine. A Walmart. We've all been there, shopping for groceries, grabbing something last minute, or just wandering around at odd hours. But the people you meet when the aisles are quiet and the lights hum overhead aren't always as harmless as they seem. These are three true Walmart horror stories that prove sometimes the scariest things don't happen in the dark woods. They happen right under the fluorescent lights. Story 1. The Overnight Stalker. The first story comes from a woman who used to work the overnight shift at a 24-hour Walmart supercenter. She was a single mother at the time, juggling two jobs and working nights so she could take her son to and from school during the day. She told me she'd clock in at 10 p.m. and clock out around 7 a.m., running almost entirely on coffee and whatever scraps of sleep she could get. It wasn't glamorous work. She stocked shelves mostly by herself, wearing a blue vest that never fit right and pushing a heavy U-boat cart stacked with cereal boxes or canned food. The building always smelled faintly like floor cleaner and cold air from the frozen food section. During the day, the store was chaos. Crying kids, long lines, managers shouting into radios. But at night, it was quiet. Too quiet sometimes. That particular night, she remembered it being freezing outside. One of those late winter nights when even inside, the cold seemed to cling to your hands. Around 10 p.m., she clocked in, grabbed her cart, and started in the cereal aisle. A few shoppers were still around. The kind who came in late for diapers, medicine, or whatever else couldn't wait until morning. She said she first noticed the man a little after 11 p.m. He walked past the aisle, slowly. Then, a moment later, stepped backward into view again. He just stood there, looking down the aisle. When she made eye contact, he immediately turned his gaze to the shelves, pretending to compare cereal boxes. He had messy, curly hair and a worn black backpack that looked overstuffed. The zippers stretched thin. She couldn't tell what was inside. Maybe clothes, maybe something else. The way he lingered made her skin crawl. After about a minute of pretending to look at granola bars, he shuffled closer and asked, "Hey, where's the bread aisle?" His voice was low, a little hoarse. She pointed him in the right direction and said, "Aisle 12, just down there to your left." He gave a slow nod, muttered thanks, and walked off. Or at least, she thought he did. A few minutes later, while she was restocking cereal, she saw him again. Just his head this time, poking around the end of the aisle. He wasn't even trying to be subtle. He'd look straight at her, then quickly pretend to browse something. It happened several times. At first, she brushed it off. Some customers were just awkward, right? Maybe he was looking for something else. But after the third or fourth time, she started to feel that gut-tightening tension that tells you something isn't right. She decided to move. When she finished her stack of cereal boxes, she wheeled her empty cart back to the stockroom, dropped it off, and grabbed another load, this time for the chips aisle, far across the store. About 45 minutes passed. The store was practically empty now. The only people left were the self-checkout cashier, a few stock workers scattered around, and the night manager in the office. She was kneeling, rotating chip bags. Old stock to the front, new stock behind. When she felt that same presence again, she turned her head, and there he was at the end of the aisle, just standing there, watching her. He still hadn't picked up a single item. That same bulging backpack hung off one shoulder. She told me her heart started racing so fast she could hear it in her ears. Then, slowly, he started walking toward her, When he got close enough, she smelled him. A mix of sweat and something chemical, like cheap cologne masking cigarettes. He smiled, showing yellowed teeth. "You know," he said, "I've been watching you work for a while. You're really beautiful." She tried to stay professional, forcing a polite smile. "Thank you, sir, but I have to finish my section." But he didn't move. He leaned a little closer, breath sour. "Where are you from?" "You look familiar," she lied. "Out of state." He kept going. More personal questions, ignoring every hint that she wanted him gone. Finally, he asked for her number. She said, "Sorry, I'm seeing someone." He laughed a little too loud and said, "There's nothing wrong with having friends." At that point, she just wanted him away from her. So, thinking quickly, she rattled off a fake number. He smiled like he'd just won a prize, then finally walked off. She tried to shake it off, but even hours later, she couldn't stop replaying the interaction in her head. Around 3 a.m., her walkie-talkie buzzed. Another stock worker said, "Hey, there's some guy here asking for you." "Says you helped him earlier?" Her stomach dropped. She told her coworker, "Tell him I left for the night," then quickly made her way to the employee lounge. She sat down, trying to breathe, when the lounge doors swung open. It was him. He looked furious. His voice echoed through the empty break room. "You gave me a fake number." She froze. "Sir, you can't be back here," she said, standing up. He slammed his backpack onto the table and started unzipping it. Slowly. That was all she needed to see. She ran. He reached out, grabbed for her arm, but missed. She sprinted through the aisles toward the front doors, shouting for help. The sound of his shoes slapping the tile floor echoed behind her. She burst through the sliding doors into the icy night, fumbling for her keys, and jumped into her car. Her hands shook so badly she could barely put it in drive. When she looked in the rearview mirror, she saw him stumble out of the store, scanning the parking lot for her car. She hit the gas and didn't stop until she was miles away. She called her manager, explained everything, and begged not to come back that night. The manager insisted they'd call the police and review the cameras, but she still refused. Later, she found out the man was seen on the cameras wandering around the store after she left, pacing between aisles, still clutching that backpack. When the police finally arrived, he was gone. The next story was sent in by a girl named Amber, who was 14 at the time this happened. She lived in a small town in Indiana, and her mom worked long shifts at a local hospital. So Amber often tagged along with her older cousin Jess whenever she went shopping. Jess was 22 and had a car, which meant freedom for Amber, a chance to get out of the house and feel grown up for a while. It was a chilly October afternoon, the kind of day when the air smells faintly like rain and old leaves. Jess had promised to take Amber to Walmart first, then to the nearby mall food court for lunch. The trip started normal enough. Casual music playing, the two laughing over something dumb from TikTok. When they pulled into the Walmart parking lot, it was crowded. Amber remembered thinking it was weird for a weekday afternoon, but she didn't think much of it. They parked near the far end of the lot, close to the garden section entrance, and went inside. Jess was looking for a few things: laundry detergent, candles, some Halloween decorations. Amber wandered off to the electronics section to check out the phone cases and earbuds. That's where she first noticed him. She said he looked maybe late 20s or early 30s. Brown jacket, ripped jeans, messy beard, and a baseball cap pulled low. She wouldn't have noticed him if he hadn't been standing weirdly still, just watching her. He wasn't holding anything, not even pretending to shop, just staring. Amber felt that uncomfortable pull in her chest that told her to walk away. She didn't make eye contact, just left the aisle and texted Jess. "Hey, where are you? Some creepy guy keeps looking at me." Jess texted back instantly, "I'm by the candles." "Come here." Amber hurried over, glancing behind her once. The man was gone. Relief washed over her. She even joked about it when she found Jess, calling him Walmart Beard Guy. They both laughed and brushed it off. After checking out, they decided to stop by the mall down the road for some lunch. They grabbed pretzels and sodas, walked around, and tried on sunglasses at one of those little kiosks. Everything felt normal again. But about 15 minutes later, Amber froze. Across the food court, standing near a frozen yogurt stand, was the same man. Same brown jacket, same hat. Her stomach sank. She tugged on Jess's sleeve and whispered, "That's him! The guy from Walmart." Jess followed her gaze and frowned. "You sure?" Amber nodded. Jess didn't want to make a scene, so she said, "All right, let's just go. Don't look at him." They threw their trash away and started walking toward the exit. As they did, Jess glanced back and saw him following, not right behind them, but close enough to notice. Once outside, they tried to lose him by weaving through a couple of parked cars and cutting across the lot toward the car. Jess pressed the unlock button, and the car lights flashed. They both jumped inside fast, locking the doors the second they shut them. Amber turned in her seat and saw him again. He had stopped about 20 feet away, standing perfectly still between two other cars, just watching. Jess started the engine and pulled out of the parking lot. For a few seconds, it looked like he wasn't following. Then, in the mirror, Jess noticed a gray sedan pull out right after them. And she swore she saw the same baseball cap behind the wheel. Amber was near tears now. Jess told her to stay calm and pulled into a gas station a few blocks down. She parked by the pumps and waited. The gray sedan drove past slowly, then turned into the next lot over, where it idled. That's when Jess decided to act. She pulled out her phone, called 911, and explained the situation. The dispatcher told her to stay put, keep the doors locked, and that an officer was nearby. A few minutes later, a police cruiser pulled into the gas station. As soon as it did, the gray sedan peeled out and sped down the road. The officer went after it, but came back 10 minutes later. He told them the sedan's plates didn't match the vehicle's registration, meaning the tags were fake. They never caught the driver. Jess and Amber gave their statements, describing the man as best they could. The officer told them they'd been smart to trust their instincts. For days afterward, Amber said she felt paranoid, jumping whenever she saw a gray car, checking over her shoulder constantly. But what scared her the most came 2 weeks later, when Jess got home from work one evening and found an envelope taped to her apartment door. Inside was a photo, printed from a phone. It showed Jess and Amber walking out of Walmart that day. No note. No handwriting, just the photo. They filed another police report, but nothing ever came of it. Whoever that man was, he vanished completely after that. Amber said it changed the way she went out in public. She doesn't shop alone anymore. And even years later, she still gets chills whenever she walks into a Walmart at night. The third story comes from a man named Ryan, who worked as an assistant manager at a Walmart in Texas. He told me this happened about 6 years ago, but it's something that still bothers him to this day. mostly because of how easily things could have gone worse. Ryan was in his early 20s back then, working long hours and trying to save enough money to move into his own place. His co-workers described him as the friendly type, the kind of guy who always helped people carry heavy boxes or fixed broken displays without being asked. That's actually how he met Lena, a cashier who worked the morning shift. She was funny, easy to talk to, and they started dating pretty quickly. For the first few months, things were great. She'd bring him lunch during his breaks, text him little memes during the day, and hang around his department after her shift ended. But after a while, Ryan started noticing red flags. Lena didn't like when he hung out with coworkers after hours, especially if women were around. She'd text him constantly, like 30 or 40 messages a day. And if he didn't respond within a few minutes, she'd accuse him of ignoring her. At first, he brushed it off as jealousy or insecurity, but it kept escalating. She'd show up unannounced at his apartment late at night, bang on the door until he answered, then act like everything was normal. After about 8 months of that, Ryan ended the relationship. It wasn't dramatic. He told her he needed space and thought they weren't good together anymore. She cried, begged him to change his mind, and when he didn't, she stopped coming to work for a few days. When she finally returned, she avoided him completely. It was awkward, but he figured that was the end of it. He was wrong. A few weeks later, strange things started happening. One night after closing the store, he walked out to his car and found a folded note stuck under his windshield wiper. It said, "You don't get to forget me." He didn't recognize the handwriting, but his gut told him exactly who it was from. He tried to laugh it off, telling his co-workers it was probably some prank. But then, the next night, another note appeared. This one said, "I see you every day." That one made him nervous. He started parking in different spots, even asked security to check the cameras. But Walmart's security footage only covered the doors and front lot. Whoever was leaving those notes knew exactly where the blind spots were. One night, around 11:30 p.m., Ryan stayed late to help unload a truck in the back lot. It was freezing, and the parking area behind the store was dimly lit. Just a few yellow floodlights humming above. He was helping the team roll pallets inside when he thought he saw movement near the fence line. Just a shadow at first. He brushed it off. Maybe a raccoon or one of the night janitors having a smoke. But when he looked again, he saw someone standing there, still, watching. He called out, "Hey, you can't be back here." The person didn't move. Then, after a moment, they turned and walked off into the darkness behind the dumpsters. Ryan felt his stomach tighten. He walked over with a flashlight, scanning the area. Nobody there. Just footprints in the dirt, leading toward the employee lot. He told the overnight manager about it, but by the time they checked the cameras, there was nothing useful. Just a blurry shape that could have been anyone. The next morning, when he got home, he noticed something odd. His front doorknob had black smudges on it, like someone had tried to open it with greasy hands. He lived alone and had no reason for it to look that way. That's when the fear started really setting in. Over the next few weeks, he kept hearing strange things at night. Soft knocks on his door, footsteps outside his window, his porch light flickering off for no reason. One evening, he was sitting on his couch, watching TV with the lights off, when his phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. It said, "You shouldn't have left me." Ryan froze. He typed back, "Who is this?" No reply. He blocked the number and tried to convince himself it was a coincidence. Maybe a wrong number. Maybe Lena had just been venting and moved on. But the next night, he found a single Polaroid photo taped to his door. It was a picture of him, taken through his living room window. He was sitting in the same spot on his couch. The caption, written in black marker, said, "You look lonely." Ryan called the police immediately. They filed a report, but said without proof of who did it, they couldn't make an arrest. They advised him to stay somewhere else for a while, just to be safe. He packed a bag and went to stay with a coworker for a few days. When he returned home that weekend, everything seemed normal. Except for one thing. His bedroom window was unlocked. He was absolutely sure he had locked it before leaving. He checked inside. Nothing appeared missing, but his bed sheets were pulled back, like someone had sat or lain there. Ryan barely slept that night. The next morning, when he went to work, one of the other cashiers pulled him aside and said, "Hey, you should know. Lena's been back in the store lately. Late at night, just walking around." He reported it to management, who called the police again. When officers arrived that night, Lena was indeed there, wandering the aisles near the break room. They found a small pocket knife in her bag, along with a few personal photos of Ryan and scraps of paper with his address written multiple times. She was arrested and charged with harassment and trespassing. Ryan said when he saw her being led out in handcuffs, she didn't look angry or sad, just blank, like she wasn't even really there anymore. She spent a short time in custody and then moved out of town. Ryan transferred to another Walmart location a few months later. But even now, he said he still checks his locks twice every night. Because sometimes, when he's alone in his apartment and the wind rattles the blinds, he swears he can hear the faintest sound. Someone whispering his name. That was the obsessed ex, and those were tonight's 3 true Walmart horror stories, okay? It's easy to forget that the most ordinary places, the ones we visit every day, can hide the darkest moments in people's lives. Whether it's a stranger in an aisle, someone following you through a parking lot, or a familiar face you can't quite escape, you never really know who's watching. If you enjoyed tonight's stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts down below. It really helps the channel and lets me know you want more stories like these. Stay safe out there. I'm Ethan Cole, and I'll see you in the next one. She never found out what was inside the bag. And honestly, she said she didn't want to know.